Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya 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 Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaitanya Manobhishtam Vandeham Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupa Natam Vitam Tam Sajiva Krishna Chaitanya
Krishna Padam Sarvanalita
Hey Krishna Gopesha Radhe Vrindavan
Shori Vishubham Sutadevi Namami Hariti
Krishna
Patitanam Pavan Krishna Yo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram 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 Dukkam
Namo
Karoti
Shivadaya Namo
Krishna
Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnavidhuri Prabhupada Priya Shri Girirajaya Swami Sri Bhaktarada Rasi Namo Vishnupadaya
Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati
Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi
Gauravani
Gauravani
Pacharya Shri
Nirvishesha
Srimivadi Paschati
Mukham Karoti Vachalam
Pachalam Pangum Langate Girim Yat Kripatam Bande Shri Gurudinata.
Hare Krishna. Alright, so now we are reading Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 14. So this is a discussion about Mayavad philosophy. So Nimai was eating dirt. And his mother said, "Why are you eating dirt? I'll give you sandesh." And he said, "What's the difference between sandesh and dirt?" So conclusion of 34. All right, Devahuti, please read text 34.
Hare Krishna. এবে সে জানিলা আর মতি না কইবা শুধু লাগে যবে তবে তোমার স্থান পিবা. Translation. Now that I can understand this philosophy, no more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I am hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk. Text 35. Eta boli জননীর কোলেতে ছাড়িয়া স্তনপানা করে প্রভু ঈশাত হাসিয়া. A translation. After saying this, the Lord smilingly, slightly climbed on the lap of his mother and sucked her breast. Text 36. এই মতে নানা ছলে ঈশ্বরা দেখায়া বাল্য ভাব প্রকতিয়া পাশ্চাৎ লুকায়া. Thus, under various excuses, the Lord exhibited his opulences as much as possible in his childhood, and later, after exhibiting such opulences, he hid himself. Text 37.
Yeah, let me read this one. Text 37. Atiti viprerana khaila tinabar pache gupte se vipre karila nishtar. On one occasion, the Lord ate the food of a Brahmana guest 3 times. And later, in confidence, the Lord delivered that Brahmana from material engagement. All right. The story of the deliverance of this Brahmana is as follows. A Brahmana who was touring all over the country, traveling from one place of pilgrimage to another, reached Navadvip and became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra gave him all ingredients for cooking, and the Brahmana prepared his food. When the Brahmana was offering the food to the Lord Vishnu in meditation, child Nimai came before him and began to eat it. And because of this, the Brahmana thought the whole offering had been spoiled. Therefore, by the request of Jagannath Mishra, he cooked for a second time. But when he was meditating, the child again came before him and began to eat the food, again spoiling the offering. At the request of Jagannath Mishra, the Brahmana cooked for a third time. But for a third time, the Lord came before him and began to eat the food, although the child had been locked within a room, and everyone was sleeping because it was late at night. Thus thinking that on that day Lord Vishnu was not willing to accept his food, and that he was therefore ordained to fast, the Brahmana became greatly agitated and cried out aloud, "Hi, hi, what has been done, what has been done?" When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Brahmana in that agitated state, he told him, "Formerly I was the son of Mother Yashoda. At that time also you became a guest in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I disturb you in this way. I'm very much pleased by your devotion. Therefore, I'm eating the food you have prepared." Understanding the favor offered to him by the Lord, the Brahmana was greatly pleased, and he was overwhelmed with love of Krishna. He was thankful to the Lord, for he felt himself greatly fortunate. Then the Lord asked the Brahmana not to disclose the incident to anyone else. This pastime is very elaborately explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Khand, chapter 3. Indira Radha, you want to read?
Hare Krishna. छोरेला न जेला प्रभु के बाहिरा पाया तारक संस्कंदे चदी एला tare bhulaiya. In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by two thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves, and while they were thinking, they were safely carrying the child to rob his ornament. The Lord misled them, and thus, instead of going to their own home, the thieves came back to the home of Jagannath Mishra. In his childhood, the Lord was profusely decorated with gold ornaments. Once upon a time, when the Lord was playing outside his house, two thieves passing on the street saw the opportunity to rob him. Therefore, they took him on their shoulders, pleasing him by offering him some sweetmeats. The thieves thought they would carry the child to the forest and then kill him and take away the ornament. The Lord, however, expanded his illusory upon the thieves so much so that instead of carrying him to the forest, they came right back in front of his house. When they came before his house, they became afraid because everyone from the house of Jagannath Mishra and all the inhabitants of that quarter were busy searching for the child. Therefore the thieves, thinking it dangerous to remain, went away and left him. The child was brought within the house and given to Mother Sachi, who was in great anxiety, and she became satisfied. This incident is also very elaborately explained in the Adi Kanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat, 12th chapter. Shraddhaji.
Are you able to read Shashi? Text 39.
Hari Bol Mataji.
No.
यादी चली जगदीशा ईरानिया सादा ने विष्णु नैवेद्य खेला एकादशी दीने. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked for some food from the house of Hiranya, and Jagdish on the Ekadashi day. The Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Khand, chapter 6, fully describes the Lord's acceptance Vishnu Prasadam on the Ekadashi day at the house of Jagdish and Hiranya. Regular prasadam is offered to the Lord Vishnu on Ekadashi because although fasting is recommended for devotees on Ekadashi, it is not recommended for Lord Vishnu. Once on Ekadashi, in the house of Jagdish and Hiranya Pandit, there were arrangements for preparing special prasadam for Lord Vishnu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked his father to go there to ask for the Vishnu prasadam because he was feeling sick. The house of Jagdish and Hiranya Pandit was situated about 2 miles from the house of Jagannath Mishra. Therefore, when Jagannath Mishra, on the request of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to ask Jagdish and Hiranya for the prasadam, they were little astonished. How could the boy understand that special prasadam was being prepared for the Lord Vishnu? They immediately concluded that Nimai must have supernatural mystic power. Otherwise, how could he understand that they were preparing special prasadam? Therefore, they immediately sent the food to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his father, Jagannath Mishra. Nimai was feeling sick, but immediately after eating the Vishnu prasadam, he was cured, and he also distributed the prasadam among his playmates.
So it
Text
means
for
children can need that fast, right?
very true.
Small children need that fast. And how he's engaging his father, he's sending his father, go and get prasadam. 2 miles away, okay? And this is how children, they order their parents, bring me this, give me this, right? And parents are happy to serve the child. Yes.
40. शिशु सभा लाए पादा पदा सिरे घारे चूरी कारे द्रव्य खाया मारे बाला काये. As usual for small children, he learned to play, and with his playtimes, he went to the house of neighboring friends, stealing their eatables and eating them. Sometimes the children fought among themselves. शिशु सभा साची स्थाने कैलर निवेदन सुनी सची पुत्रे किछु दिला उलाहना. All the children lodged complaints with Sachimata about the lords fighting with them and stealing from their neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise or rebuke her son.
Yeah, Anupama Madhuri.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you. Text. केने चूरी करा केने मरा शिशुरे केने परा घरे याहा किबा नाही घरे. Translation. Sachimata said, why did you steal others' things? Why do you beat the other children? And why do you go inside others' houses? What do you not have in your own house? Purport. According to the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yata, since creation, maintenance, and annihilation exist in the Supreme Absolute, whatever we find within this material world is already in the spiritual world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. How is he stealing and how is he fighting? It is not as a thief or an enemy, but as a friend in a loving condition. He steals as a child, not because he is in want, but out of a natural instinct. In this material world also, small children without enmity or bad will sometimes go to a neighboring house and steal, and sometimes they fight. Krishna also, like other children, did all these things in his childhood. Without the existence of the stealing propensity and fighting propensity in the spiritual world, they cannot exist here in this material world. The difference between the material and spiritual worlds is that stealing in the spiritual world is done in friendship and love, whereas fighting and stealing within the material world are executed on the basis of enmity and envy. Therefore, we should understand that in the spiritual world, all these activities exist, but there is no inebriety, whereas in the material world, all activities are full of miserable conditions. Hare Krishna. Should I read more, Mataji? Okay. Text 43. Suni kruddahana prabhu ghare bhitarayana ghare yata bhanda chila felila bhangiya. Translation. Thus rebuked by his mother, the Lord would go in anger to a room and break all the pots within it. Text 44. तबे सोची सची कोले करी करिएला संतोष लज्जिता हैला प्रभु जानी निज dosh. Translation. Then Sachi Mata would take her son on her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed, admitting his faults. Purport. This is a nice description of the faults of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood. There is a nice description of the faults of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Khanda, chapter 3, where it is said that as a child the Lord used to steal all kinds of eatables from the houses of neighboring friends. In some houses he would steal milk and drink it, and in others he would steal and eat prepared rice. Sometimes he would break cooking pots. If there was nothing to eat but there were small babies, the Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. Sometimes a neighbor would complain to Sachimata, "My child is very small, but your child puts water in his ears and makes him cry." Text 42.
That's
The
too much, right? Okay, Anupama Mishra.
Hare Krishna. Text 45. कभु मृदु हस्ते कैला मात के ताड़ना मात के मुरुचित देखी कराय क्रंदना. Once the child Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised his mother with his soft hand, and his mother pretended to faint. Seeing this, the Lord began to cry. Text 46. नारीगण कहे नारिकेल देह आनी तबे सुस्त हाई बेना tomara janani. The neighboring ladies told him, "Dear child, please bring a coconut from somewhere and then your mother will be cured." Text 47. Bahire yana ani lena dui nari kela dekhiya apurva hoile vismita sakala. He then went outside the house and immediately brought two coconuts. All the ladies were astonished to see such wonderful activities. Text 48. Kabhu Shishu Sange Snana Karila Gangate Kanyagana Aila Taha Devata Pujite. Sometimes the Lord would go with other children to bathe in the Ganges, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. Purport. According to the Vedic system, when small girls, 10 or 12 years old, would go to the bank of the Ganges to take their bath, they would specially worship Lord Shiva with prayers to get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted to get a husband like Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is very peaceful and at the same time most powerful. Formerly, therefore, small girls in Hindu families would worship Lord Shiva, especially in the month of Vaishak, April, May. To take a bath in the Ganges is a great pleasure for everyone, not only for adults but for children also. Text 49. Ganga Snan Kari Puja Kari Te Lagila Kanyagana Madhya Prabhu Asiya Basila. When the girls engaged in worshipping the different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young Lord would come there and sit down among them.
Yes. Amrita Radhe, are you able to read?
Yes, Mataji. Kanyare kohe ama pujo ami diba vara Ganga Durga dashi mor Mahesha Kinkora. Translation. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands or good benedictions. The Ganges and the goddess Durga are my maidservants. What to speak of other demigods? Even Lord Shiva is my servant." There is a misconception about the Hindu religion among people who profess other religions, such as Christians and Muslims, who say that in Hindu religion there are many gods. Actually, that is not a fact. God is one, but there are many other powerful living entities who are in charge of different departments of administration. They are called demigods. All the demigods are servants who carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of ignorance, sometimes people worship demigods to receive some particular boon. But actually, one who becomes a devotee and worshipper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction, because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. The Bhagavad Gita therefore condemns such demigod worship. कामैश्चितैश्चितैर्हृतज्ञानिनः प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवता तं तं नियमम् आस्थया प्रकर्तया नियतः स्वया. Only persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं ज्ञाननं पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रता. But persons who are freed from all sinful activities and the duality of delusion engage themselves in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with determination. Only the less intelligent worship the demigods for their various purposes. The most intelligent worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Sometimes we, the member of Krishna consciousness movement, are accused of not approving of worship of demigods. But how can we approve of this when it is condemned by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna? How can we allow people to become foolish and hrita bereft of intelligence? Our propaganda is simply meant to enable intelligent people to understand the distinction between matter and spirit and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the whole spiritual identity. That is our mission. How could we mislead people into worshipping so called gods in material bodies within this material world? Our position of not allowing worship of many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, Anya अन्य देवाश्रय नाई तुम्हार कहिनु भाई ei bhakti parama karana. To become a staunch, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, one should not divert his attention to the worship of the demigods. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service.
Yeah.
14.51.
Yes. So now this is about worship of the demigods. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just making it very clear. No need to worship the devas. All right, Indira Radha, you can read now. Text 51.
Yeah. Hari. अपनी चंदन परी परे न फूल फल माला नैवेद्य कादिया खाना संदेश chala kala. Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood puff and smear it on his own body, put the flower garlands on his neck, and snatch and eat all the offerings of sweetmeats, rice, and bananas. According to the system of worship, when something is offered to the deities outside one's home, it is generally not cooked food, but raw rice, bananas, and sweetmeats. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord would snatch the offerings from the girls and eat them, admonishing the girls not to worship the demigod, but to worship him. The worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Trisak Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagne Sankirtan Prayer Yajanti Hitu Medasaha. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appears in this age of Kali with his associates as the Panchatattva, the Lord himself and his associates, Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, and Srivas Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Panchatattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and, if possible, distributing prasadam. Our Krishna consciousness movement is introducing this bona fide method of worship in the Western world. Its members are going from village to village and town to town with deities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, teaching people how to worship the Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, offering prasadam and distributing prasadam to people in general.
Yes, so now this is what is being introduced, that instead of worshipping the devas, so Mahaprabhu is showing worship Gaunitai, worship Panchtattva, and Prabhupada is saying that this is what he has done. When he went to the West, he gave people to worship Panchtattva, either mostly in picture forms, and in some cases, the deities. So yes, this is Hare Krishna movement. It is worship of God Nitai. So we shouldn't hesitate to worship God Nitai. We don't know God Nitai. We don't know them. And it is good that we, before we accept anyone as God, because everybody says I'm God. So before we accept somebody as God, that we question, we understand. So finally here, Mahaprabhu is saying, no worship of the deities, just worship me. He's doing it jokingly. He's just a child, right? He's just doing it jokingly. But finally, that's the message. Yeah, Devahuti.
Text 52. क्रोध हे कन्या गणे कहे শুনো হে নিমানি গ্রাম সম্বন্ধে হও তুমি আমার সবারও ভাই. Translation. All the girls became very angry at the Lord for his behavior. Dear Nimai, they told him, you are just like our brother in our village relationship. Text 53. আমার সবকার পক্ষে ইহা করিতে না ইউয়া না লহ দেবতা সাজে না করো অন্যায়. Therefore it is not behoove you to act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods. Don't create a disturbance in this way. প্রভু কয়ে তোমা সবকে দিলা এই বর তোমা সবর ভরত হবে পরম সুন্দর. Translation. The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you benediction that your husbands will be very handsome. Pandita bidagda yuva dhana dhanyavan shato shato putra hobe chirayu motiman. Translation. They will be learned, clever, young, and possess abundant wealth and rice. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons who will also live long lives and be very intelligent. Purport. Generally, it is the ambition of a young girl to have a very handsome husband who is learned, clever, young, and rich. According to the Vedic culture, one is rich if he possesses a large stock of food grain and a very large number of animals. Dhanyena dhanyavan gavaya dhanoban. Dhanyena dhanoban gavaya dhanoban. One is rich if he possesses food grains, cows, and bulls. A girl also desires to have many children, especially sons, putra, who are very intelligent and long-lived. Now, because society has deteriorated, there is a propaganda to have 1 or 2 children and kill the rest by the contraceptive methods. But the natural ambition of a girl is to possess not only more than one children, but at least half a dozen. In exchange for the paraphernalia of worship he unserved for himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to bless the girls to fulfill all their ambitions and desires. One can easily become happy and obtain the material benefits of a good husband, wealth, food grain, and a number of nice children by worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas at an early age, it is not necessary for his devotees to follow him by also taking sannyas. One can stay a householder, but one must be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will be happy with all the material opulences of good home, good children, good mate, good wealth, and everything he desires. Therefore, the Shastra advise Yagne Sankirtan Prayed Yagnati Hi Sumedhasah. Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Every householder, therefore, who is actually intelligent should introduce the Sankirtan movement home to home, live peacefully in this life, and go back to Godhead in the next.
Yeah, so here it's surprising that Prabhupada explaining that even your material requirement is fulfilled if you worship Gaunitai. So Gaunitai is not only for a spiritual life, but it's also for your material life. So yes, everything you will get, all opulences, good children, good maid, good wealth, everything he desires. So every householder is recommended to worship Gaunitai. 56, Anupama Madhvi, you want to read?
Hare Krishna, text 56. Varasuni kanya ganera antare santosha, bahiri bharta sana kare kari mithya rosha. Translation. Hearing this benediction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the girls were inwardly very happy, but externally, as is natural for girls, they rebuked the Lord under the pretense of anger. Purport. This double dealing is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within, they externally show dissatisfaction. Such feminine dealings are very palatable to boys who try to make friendships with them. Text 57. Kona kanya pal leila naivedya laya tare daki kahe prabhu shakroda hayya. Translation. When some of the girls fled, the Lord called them in anger and advised them as follows. Text 58. Yadi naivedya na deha hayya kripani Gudha bharata be ara chari chari satini. Translations. If you're miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 wives. Purport. In India in those days, and even until 50 years ago, polygamy was freely allowed. Any man of the higher, the Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, and particularly the Kshatriyas could marry more than one wife. In the Mahabharata or the old history of India, we see that Kshatriya kings especially used to marry many wives. According to Vedic civilization, there was no restriction against this, and even a man more than 50 years old could marry. But to be married to a man who had many wives was not a very pleasing situation, because the husband's love would be divided into many wives. To punish the girls unwilling to offer him the Nevedya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently wanted to curse them to be married to men who had at least 4 wives. The social structure allowing a man to marry more than one wife can be spotted in this way. Generally, in every society, the female population is greater in number than the male population. Therefore, if it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married, unless polygamy is allowed, it will not be possible. If all the girls are not married, there is a good chance of adultery. And a society in which adultery is allowed cannot be very peaceful here. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have restricted illicit sex. The practical difficulty is to find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife.
So here Prabhupada is speaking on this polygamy. Um, so now because of this divorce law, right? So therefore, Bhakti Swami explained in different way. He says polygamy is still going on, but it is going on under divorce. You divorce one, then you take the next one. You divorce the next one, then you take the next one. But actually, it is polygamy. And of course, it's a big disaster when we do this. There's so much suffering. Children are separated from parents, and there's loss of money, there's loss of association in the family. So here Prabhupada is saying that in our Krishna consciousness movement, we have restricted illicit sex. The practical difficulty is to find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife. But when Prabhupada was approached for this, Prabhupada didn't approve it. In his society, when his disciples read about all these very nice, polygamy. So then Prabhupada says, we are here, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. We are learning how to become detached from material sense gratification. So therefore, he didn't allow it. But then, even then, I heard that a couple of devotees did have more than one wife, and it didn't work well at all. So therefore, it's not allowed. It's just not done. But unfortunately, the divorce is going on. Instead of polygamy, it's just divorce. But it's the same principle that Bhakti Swami explained this. All right, who wants to read Anubhava Mishra?
Text 59.
Can you know this polygamy actually? Like though it's like competition and all this, but few are a little bit heard, actually the wives, they will live like sisters. They actually live like six sisters, and they like it was a community. Actually, this was a community. Beside, now it's just because the mentality has completely changed, because it's become unacceptable. So therefore, but it's still there. It's still, unfortunately, the same thing is still going on. Unfortunately, it creates breaking in marriages. One doesn't, like I know this one lady, she was coming my classes, and then her husband wanted to marry somebody who he liked from before. And so what he did, he wanted to maintain her. He actually wanted to maintain her properly, everything. And he wanted to marry that other girl. But this woman put her to the police. So as soon as she did this, immediately the husband cut off everything. So because it's a culture, like Prabhupada is explaining here, it's a culture which is still percolating into Kali Yuga, but because it's lost. So therefore it became such a pain. Okay, text 59 now. Who's reading? Anupama Mishra, you want to read?
Yes, ma'am. Text 59. Iha sunita sabara mane haila bhaya kona kichu jane kiba deva vishta hoy. Hearing this supposed curse by Lord Chaitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon, or be empowered by demigods were afraid that his curse might be effective. 1060 Aniya Naivedya Tara Sammukha Dharila Khai Naivedya Tare Ishtavara Dila. The girls then brought the offerings before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction. 61 E Mata Chapalaya Saboloker Dekhaya Dukha karo mane nahi sabe sukha paye. When this cunning behavior of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in these dealings. Text 62 Ekadina Vallabhacharya Kanya Lakshmi Nama Devata Pujita Aile Kari Ganga Snana. One day, a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganges to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. Purport: according to the Gaur Ganodesh Deepika 45, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramachandra, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna in Dwaraka. The same goddess of fortune descended as Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 63 Tanre dekhi prabhura haile sabhilasha mana Lakshmi chitte prita paile prabhura darshana. Seeing Lakshmi Devi, the Lord became attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind. Text 64 Sahajika Priti Dunhara Karila Udaya Balya Bhava Achana Tabhu Haila Nishchaya. Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. Purport: Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it was quite natural for their dormant love to awaken when they saw each other. Their natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. Text 65 Dunha dekhi dunhara chitte hoila ullasa deva puja chale kaila dunhe parakasha. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings.
Yeah, Shashi?
Hare Krishna. प्रभु कहे आमा पूजा आमी महेश्वर Amare pujile pava abhi vara. The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire. This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarva dharman paritajye mam ekam shannam vraja aham tvam sarva prapyu mokshyami ma suja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshipping many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs. But when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there is no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes, but one goes to a river where there is water constantly flowing in waves. The water can serve all his purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on, for that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Kamastaste krite jnana prapadyante nava devata. Only man who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desire. Bhagavad Gita 7.20. Text 67. Lakshmi Tande Ange Dila Pushpa Chandana Malikare Mala Diya Karile Vandana. On hearing the order of the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, offering sandalwood pulp and flowers for his body, garlanding him with malika flowers, and offering prayers. प्रभु तंत्रे पूजा पाना हसीते लगीला श्लोका पादी तांत्रे भावे angikara kaila. Being worshipped by Lakshmi, the Lord began to smile. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and thus accepted the emotion she expressed. Purport. The verse quoted in this connection is the 25th verse of the 22nd chapter, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis worshipped goddess Durga or Katyani, but their inner desire was to get Lord Krishna as their husband. Krishna as Paramatma could realize the ardent desire of the gopis, and therefore he enjoyed the pastime of Vastraharan. When the gopis went to bathe in the river Yamuna, they left their garments on the land and dipped into the water completely naked. Taking this opportunity, Krishna stole all their garments and sat down in the top of a tree with them, desiring to see the girls naked just to become their husband. The gopis desired to have Krishna as their husband, and since it is only before the husband that a woman can be naked, to fulfill their desire, Lord Krishna accepted their prayers by the pastimes of stealing their garments. When the gopis received their garments back from Krishna, Krishna recited this verse.
Yeah, Amrita Radhe, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji. 14.69 Sankalpo Vidita Sadvayo Bhavatina Mad Archanam Mayanumodita So Satya Bhavitum Arhati. Translation. My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. I wish your desire to be fulfilled because it deserves to be so. Purport. The gopis, the girlfriends of Krishna, were almost of the same age as he. Within their minds, they desired that Krishna be their husband. But because of feminine bashfulness, they could not express their desire. Therefore, later on, after stealing their garments, Krishna informed them, I immediately understood your desire and approved of it. Because I have now stolen your garments, you have presented yourselves before me completely naked, which means that I have accepted all of you as my wives. Sometimes foolish rascals, not knowing the purpose of the Lord or the purpose of the gopis, unnecessarily criticize from their own angle of vision. But the real purpose of Vastraharan is expressed by the Lord in this verse. 14.70 এই মাত লীলা করি দুহে গেলা ঘরে গম্ভীরা চৈতন্য লীলা কে বুঝিতে পারে. After thus expressing their feelings to each other, Lord Chaitanya and Lakshmi returned home. Who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? 14.71 चैतन्य चापल्य देखी प्रेमे सर्वजना शचि जगन्नाथ देखी देना उलाहना. When the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra. 14.72 Ekadina Shachi Devi Putrera Bhartasiya Dhari Bare Gela Putra Gela Paliya. One day, Mother Shachi went to catch her son, wanting to rebuke him, but he fled from the spot. 14.73 Uchishta Garte Tyakta Handira upara bhashi ache shukhe prabhu deva vishwambhara. Although he is the maintainer of the entire universe, once the Lord sat upon some rejected pots in the pit where the remnants of food were thrown after the pots had been used for cooking. Purport: Formerly, it was the custom of Brahmanas to worship Lord Vishnu daily at home and cook food in new pots. This system is still going on in Jagannath Puri. The food would be cooked in earthen pots, all fresh and new, and after cooking, the pots would be thrown away. By the side of the house, there was generally a big pit where such pots were thrown. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the pots very pleasingly, just to give his mother a lesson.
Yeah,
14.74.
what lesson we are going to learn? Okay, then we'll start. Yeah, we continue, then we finish this.
Shachi Asi, 14.74. Shachi Asi kohe kene ashuchi chuila Ganga Snana kore yai apavitra huila. When Mother Shachi saw her boy sitting on the rejected pots, she protested, "Why have you touched these untouchable pots? You have now become impure. Go and bathe in the Ganges." 14.75. इहा शुनी माता के कहिला ब्रह्म ज्ञान विस्मिता होया mata korilo snan. Hearing this, Lord Chaitanya taught his mother about absolute knowledge. Although amazed by this, his mother forced him to take a bath. Purport: The absolute knowledge explained by the Lord to his mother is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrit Pravaha Bhashya as follows. The Lord said, "Mother, that this is pure and that is impure is surely a worldly sentiment with no basis in fact. You have cooked food for Lord Vishnu within these pots and offered the food to him. How then can these pots be untouchable? Everything in relationship with Vishnu is to be considered an expansion of Vishnu's energy. Vishnu, the Supersoul, is eternal and uncontaminated. How then, by these pots, be considered pure or impure?" Hearing this discourse on absolute knowledge, his mother was very much astonished and forced him to take bath.
So he just said, keep aside your preaching. Just do what is the tradition. Yeah, so that happens.
At least at that time, they didn't have to wash the pots because
They
some of
didn't
them
have to
were
wash. Well, these are
big
earthen.
job. This was,
So the cooking in earthen pots, meaning it goes back to earth, right? These are earthen, so these are biodegradable, that's what you call it, right? Eco-friendly. So, and then again from the earth, they again make new pots. So that Prabhupada is saying that was in the house of Brahmanas. That's how they used to do. Yes, washing, then we get a washing machine these days, right? We get washing machine to wash the pots. To wash pots. Stainless steel came about. Before we were cooking in iron pots. All right, all right. Anyway, it's such a, in Jagannath Puri, I don't know for how many thousands they cook every day. So meaning that how many earthen pots they are using. Right? Yes, Amrita Rahe. Tell me.
Mataji, a quick question. So all these leelas, the Balya Leela of Lord Chaitanya, they are only happening during Bhauma Leela of Lord Chaitanya, isn't it? In the eternal Nitya Leela, these Leela must not be happening, isn't it? Is that correct?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Even here. Well, you know, I'm sure in Nitya Lila, you don't have to speak of Mayavad philosophy or about Suchi, what is Muchi. I'm sure all this is not right. And I don't know whether Mahaprabhu met Lakshmi Devi by the Ganga or they eternally together. I have no idea.
It was a very sweet pastime, so I was wondering if in the eternal, Shweta I believe it's called, whether all this is happening there or not. But yeah, no problem.
I have no idea. Hmm? All right. Hare Krishna. So I'm going out for a few weeks. So when I come back after mid-June, then we'll have our next. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Have a safe trip, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Let's check.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.